Chicago, the Fort Columbus, which is now John Williams, and the Rickenbacker International Airport. And so we are a prosperous city. Paul was writing to Ephesus while he himself was under house arrest. He was confined at the time when he wrote it. He was confined as a prisoner of Rome. He presents us, Brother Danny, with a testimony that we can serve God even in the midst of our own personal obstacles, struggles, and calamities. And so within this text, we can see as his words come forward, he is in prison, but he's talking about a God who has redeemed.
Yes.
I wonder, is there anybody here who understands that you can both be free and captive at the same time?
Yes.
So just because you have chains on your body does not mean that your mind and soul cannot be free. So within this text, we see that Christ reconciled the whole of creation to God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. People of all nations are united to Christ and to one another in the church through the power of God. I wish you knew that we were united together, and Christians should lead lives that show forth our unity in Christ. Yes. We should always be willing, Sister Thomas, to embrace the sufferings of the cross so we can realize the power of his resurrection. Yes. And so you know what I believe, Brother Simon? I believe that if Paul were alive today, that he would find it necessary to write a letter to the church at America. All right. Yeah, I really believe, Sister Martin, that the church in America needs a letter.
Yes.
Along with some other places around the globe that find themselves lost and in need of spiritual counsel. Yes, and so I wonder, Jack, if you know that there are times when we all need some redemption. Yes. And so it seems that in our day, that this news cycle runs rapid and rampant. The news cycle brings us bad news today, worse news tomorrow, and a different story the next day.
Yes.
That's how quick it runs. The White House and Capitol Hill alone seems to generate enough news to keep us interested for a few moments of every single day. And thankfully, many of us don't have long attention spans, so this news cycle is pretty good for some of us because it's exciting, like a roller coaster. It's up and down, but at the same time, it's very disappointing. It comes and goes kind of like an amoeba or a fruit fly. You know, their lives are here today, gone tomorrow. That's kind of how our news cycle is. I would suggest, you know, Sister Shante Shaw, that the world is in a state of unrest, confusion all around, it seems. And it seems that there's a myriad of issues that seem to plague us, and they're more than mere fashion. They're a lot more like germs that are resistant to antibiotics. They're problems that seem to keep going in the face of solution. And we realize that something needs to be said and something needs to be done. Yes, sir. Brother James, what do you do when the age, the time, the season becomes unbearable? What do you do when the age and the time and the season seem like they desperately need redemption? I think this past week, Sister Shannon, it seems that we could allow the centralized issue to resonate in this church. This church for nearly 75 years has been a predominantly African-American church. Not to say that we don't welcome others, because we do and we have. But I do want to say that I think it's particularly poignant in this environment, in this church today, to think about the sad and sinister things that have happened this week as the only black cabinet member that was in the West Wing in the White House has now been fired. Not only fired, but disrespectful language has come to describe her. And it should cause some concern about the age and about the times that we're living in.
Yes, sir.
I think it's outrageous. I think it's ignorant. I think it's hateful to call people names after they've helped you pull off the greatest theft of all time.
Yes. Go ahead.
The White House and the presidency, and now you have the nerve to take the one black woman that stood with you and talk about her not like a dog, but you called her a dog.
Yes.
And so, you know, I feel like that's a shame to think that an administration would do such a thing for someone that helps them. So think about those of us that did not. How can you treat people who help you so bad? To have an African-American woman working in the West Wing despite the plausible disapproval, as you can imagine, of some of her family members, her friends, and other people in our race, because most of us were mad at her for support.
Yeah.
And now that she has, look at the way she's been treated. Hatefully shown to the door. Just think about that. Some over-tanned tyrant leading you to the door to fire you. We should all be concerned,
Yes.
regardless of our race, creed, or gender.
Yes.
Because she's been thrown in the mud in terms of her character, to include, as I said, a statement to say that she was a lowlife and a dog. If she is, then what are you?
Go ahead now.
And then secondly, I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I know words, Brother Meshach. And when a woman is referred to as a dog, normally it's a fight. Earrings come off. Vaseline goes on the face, and you're ready to fight. Because you see, I happen to know that a D-O-G is a B-I-T-C-H. I'm not stupid. And so when you clean it up to put it on television to call one of our women, who could be our mother, our sister, or our daughter, a dog and a lowlife, then you got a problem with me. So no matter how you might feel about her personally, we should all be outraged at such things and such matters. And it's a shame that more of our black men and preachers who have a voice on national television won't say anything about it. I tell you that it is important. Not only important to black people, but I tell you it's important to white people. It's important because now we know that there are no black voices in the White House West Wing. W.E.B. Du Bois said it like this. He says, we give each to each those characteristics both so sadly lack. Therefore, both blacks and whites and all races should be concerned at the lack of ethnicity, diversity, and all of the things that bring voice to the continuum of our country into the White House. You know, it's one thing to put us out of the West Wing, because you see, I do understand that they can say that there are black people who work in the White House. But I'm not talking about the positions in the basement, Sister Kanitha. I'm not talking about cleaning chitlins and rendering pet. I'm talking about a seat at the table to talk about the real decisions. Because it's interesting how you can eat our food and dance to our music, but then we can't tell you anything about the country. So we need diversity at all levels of government, and we need a holistic idea that brings solutions. You know, it's not new for a preacher to talk about these things. I know you know many preachers who have. One German pastor that you may have heard of before, Friedrich Niemöller, said this. He said, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. He said, then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. He said, then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. He said, but then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So think about it. Most of us have said this before, Brother Chad Williams. I can talk about my family, but you can't.
All right.
I can talk about my family, but you can't.
That's it.
See, I may say some things about people in my own tradition. I might say some things about my culture, my race, my ethnicity, and so on and so forth. But we can't allow other folks to say it.
Okay.
And no matter how you fall on the issue, because I know there are some African Americans who dislike the N-word, there are others who use it profusely. But let me tell you, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, but I'll tell you what. You take a poll and there's not now African American to say white folks can say it. There's some things you can't say. I was telling my wife when we leaving the house this morning, I said, you know what? I love Brother Brian like he's my son. I love Sister Kathy like she's my aunt, but if either one of them pull out the N-word, it's over. And Sister Kathy married to a black man. But I still, if I hear that N-word, we done. There's certain things that you cannot say. And we have to continue to make sure that we have that kind of respect and we hold people to that. We have built the country and we have lived long enough to tell it. And so, therefore, you can't kill us now, because we just like them roaches and them mice. We'll still be around when everybody else is gone. The only thing we've got to be careful of is we've got to be careful in the way that we approach it. Brother Tracy Turner, we've got to be, as the Bible said, we can become angry but sin not. It's important that we fight together a peaceful fight, a fight that is of prayer and a fight that is in the name of Christ. I tell you that these times do need redemption. And it seems that if we look around the situations of sexism and classism and racism, it seems to be getting worse. But you know, even in that, I believe there is an answer in the scriptures. There's a great answer always comes from the scripture. If you need an answer, you need a solution, you better ask God. So in Paul's letter this morning, I think that we can find a solution as he allows us to understand that Christ is the greatest symbol of redemption. Mother, if we need redemption this morning, then we need to look to Jesus. I had an opportunity to read this letter, and as I was reading it, Sister Jeray, I read it one time, and then I read it again, and then I changed my reading pattern. I decided to read it out loud because I wanted to hear all 5 chapters just resonate in the room. And as they came into the room, you know, it was as that lady said when she said, all I need is my medicine in the closet, in the room. My doctor fills out all my prescriptions in the room. And so Ephesians came into the room, and as it emerged from chapters 1 through 5, I kept hearing the Savior say, I shall redeem. And so if you read the words, you realize that his blood has done the work for us. After reading it, you can only think that there's a great solace in heaven. There's a great solace in Jesus, because he's our great propitiation and redeemer. And so I would encourage you, when you get time, to read the entire chapter of Ephesians. It's a short read. It's just 5 chapters. But Jesus renders every part of our life as redeemed in this book. All those dark places that seem so crippling, he brings to it the honor and glory that only one from God could bring, because he dies on the cross. He gives us victory over all life and death. He gives us victory over the overly tanned. He gives us victory over any obstacle, and no weapon formed against us shall prosper. So how do we redeem the time? Look at Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. When you arrive there, here's the words you'll find. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. And so in order to redeem the times, we must, number 1, guard our walk, and number 2, reject foolishness to embrace wisdom. And so that is, for the first time in my preaching here at Liberty Hill, that is points 1 and 2 at the same time. Guard our walk and reject foolishness to embrace wisdom. You see, sometimes what happens is we don't walk in wisdom. We don't walk in the wisdom of God. We've got to realize that we've got to live above reproach. We've got to teach our children that. One of the things that Benjamin Elijah Mays said, he was the president of Morehouse College during the years that Dr. King was there. Benjamin Elijah Mays says in his autobiography, Born to Rebel, he says that his parents would always tell him before leaving home to be safe. And he said in those words there was a lot packed into the words. They were telling him not to get hung, not to get caught up in a mob, not to find yourself in a coffin, but come back home. He said because in those days, sometimes black young men didn't come back home. And so we have to guard our walk. And as sad as it seems, there are some things that sometimes we have to teach our children that other people don't have to teach them. But it is what it is. Don't avoid it just because you feel like you shouldn't, or because you want to be like everybody else. You need to embrace the fact that we are different, and we have to guard our walk. We have to be careful of the products that we buy. We have to think about those kinds of things because your money is important. I think that the bus boycotts in Selma prove that our money is important. If somebody is stealing from you, and if you're going into the corner store and they're treating you like a dog, why do you return that?
Say that.
We must walk in wisdom and reject the foolishness. It is foolish to give someone your money, your time, your resources that don't give back to you. And so we need to be smart about the things we do and walk in love and walk in peace, but at the same time be effective with our voice. The scripture seems to tell us that when we walk with those who are foolish, we become foolish. So it is our job to walk with those who are educated, those who can make us a little smarter and a little wiser. Let me tell you, there's no shame in asking somebody. There's no shame in watching a YouTube video to educate yourself. There's no shame in becoming smarter little by little. You don't need a degree from The Ohio State University to get smart. You need to just read more. You need to observe those who are smart. And before you know it, you'll be smarter than you ever thought you were. But it's important that we begin to put away childish things. Stop calling our houses a crib I don't live in a crib. I'm a grown man. I haven't been in a crib in years. I'm not your boy. I'm a grown man. And grown men make decisions, and I go to work, and those kinds of things. We must begin to teach our people not to be foolish, but to be wise. To embrace the wisdom of God. There are two schools of thought in our tradition, and you know that. We have the school of thought that comes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and then there's the school of thought that comes from Brother Malcolm X. Oftentimes we attribute the quote to Malcolm X, and I've heard that it's not an actual quote, but it's kind of made up, and that is, we often say, by any means necessary. However, we've got to realize that Dr. King was a drum major for peace. He reminds us that it's important for us to walk circumspectly, to be upright, and to be mentally acute, to recognize that there's some things that we need to think about. Because sometimes you can leap too far before you know where you're going to land. And you cannot be effective if you are not yet alive. And so we need to be smart in the way that we move forward. Because yes, I guess martyrdom is good in some ways, but it's also important to try to stay around to do the work as long as you can. And so I would say to us that perhaps by any means necessary is not quite the way. Because we shouldn't do just anything to get ahead. We must realize that we can get ahead by simply being on God's side. Because do you really want by any means necessary? No, because we're not snakes. That's a means, but we shouldn't be crawling on our bellies. We should not, we would not, and we shall not lick our chops like wolves, because we are the people of Christ, and we should walk through the pattern, the will, and the way of Christ as we reject the foolish trappings of this world. Yes, church, we've got to walk upright. We've got to realize that Jesus had made sacrifices, and we must too make sacrifices. And as long as we've got him on our side, we can walk tall anyway. I want Jesus, to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me all along my pilgrim's journey, Lord. I want Jesus to walk with me. Those old slaves and those folk who were coming through Jim Crow law, they understood in my trials, Lord, I need you to walk with me. In my trials, I want the Lord to walk with me. When my heart is breaking, Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me. When I'm in trouble. Do you hear that voice? When I'm in trouble, I want the Lord to walk with me. When my head is bowed down in sorrow, Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me. I wonder, are there any worshipers here this morning that need the Lord today, that need somebody to walk alongside you and with you, to bask in the power of the Holy Spirit? I need God. And I need Jesus to walk with me all the way.
Amen.
But look now at verse 16. Here's what he says. Redeeming the time, because the days are evil. We must know what is at stake. We must realize that evil is rampant. And if we let it go, it will continue to grow. Our lives are at stake. He says we must redeem the time because of the evil. There's a job for you to do, Brother Thomas, because of the evil. And so if we let it go, it will multiply like a cancer festering across the human tradition. And it will kill us little by little as it eats away at our collective and individual life. The time and the season needs us to work now. Through Jesus, we must love those who despitefully misuse us. The Bible says that if we really want to fight hatred, we've got to do it, Sister Toba, with love. When they disrespect us, we must love. When hatred is spilling from our nature's capital, we must love. Mrs. Obama said it like this. She said, when they go low, we've got to go high. And to use her words, Sister Tamar, I would say that when they go low, we must go even higher. Because we must go to God. We must go to the one that redeems us. We must go to the one who sits high and looks low. We must go to the one who has the power to change in spite of us. We got to go to him because it is his love that would allow us to redeem the least, the lost, and love those who hate us. Because love will hurt. Love will cover the multitude of pain and hurt that you have. Love is the key. So we must continue to forgive as Christ has taught us. We must continue to allow love to come in order to redeem the time. There are those who are filled with hatred, and those who are filled with malice, and those who are on assignments from the devil. But I just wonder, is there anybody here that believes that love is more powerful than any force? That love can change anybody. Love can change any situation. We've got to believe that God's love is the most powerful source and power on earth. Because it is God's love that died on the cross for us.
Yes.
While we were yet sinners, he died and let his blood be shed. You know, we can't logically blame evil on anybody else but us, the church. I know that hurts a little bit, because we always want to kind of point the finger to somebody else. But the fact is, God said that his people would just turn. If we would turn and seek his face, if we would pray, if we would make some changes, then God says, I'll make some changes. And so it's here not because of them, as we like to point the finger. It's here because of our omission. It's here because oftentimes we don't do what we're supposed to do. There are a couple of things that he even says. Let me prove it to you. He says, where two or three are gathered together, there am I in the midst. When we're praying and we're allowing the Holy Spirit to come into our presence, do you know that there's great power in prayer?
Yes, yes.
So I hope that every member of this church will come out in September. The month of September, every Wednesday night, we're going to have prayer meetings. And we need some old-fashioned prayer meetings. I need some new prayers and some old prayers. I need the new prayers to hold up the old prayers. And I need the old prayers to pray for the new prayers. And till the cycle gets so rich and so wonderful till you just get a whirlwind and get a tornado of prayer up in here. Because I need people who are coming and talking to God and listening for the voice of God so that we can be responsible. But then secondly, here's what I tell you about Eve. The Bible tells us that light and darkness can't coexist.
Yeah.
And so when you allow the light to come in, then the darkness is driven away. Because darkness can't stay where light is. And so I'm saying that when you're dealing with evil, you need to turn on the light. Sister Lisa, you know the hotel used to say, we'll leave the light on. I think that was Tom Bodell or somebody. I never did think that Motel 6 was quite the place I wanted to stay, so I wasn't necessarily looking for their light on. But I still like their motto when they say we'll leave the light on. Because you know what, Sister Zaria, I believe that ought to be the motto of every Christian everywhere.
Yeah.
To remember to leave the light on to redeem the time. You got to leave the light on in order to show forth the Christ that is in you. You've got to leave the light on where there's hatred and burn it out. Where there's racism, you need to turn on the light. Where there's sexism, you need to turn the light on. Where there's classism, we need to turn on the light and let the light of Jesus shine forth. Turn on the light when you volunteer to help the hungry, the thirsty, and the sick. Turn on the light when you care for the prisoner and write letters and words of encouragement. Turn on the light when you care for the stranger. Yes, church, we need to turn on the lights for the least and the lost. We need to turn on the lights in the church. We need to lift the Savior up and let the light of God be seen. The songwriter Johnson Oatman said it like this. He said, how to reach the master's men of every bird. For an answer, Jesus gave the key. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. He said, oh, the world is hungry for the living bread. Lift the Savior up for them to see. Trust him and do not doubt the words that he said, I'll draw all men unto me. Don't exalt the preacher, don't exalt the pew. Preach the gospel simple, full, and free. Sister Imani, you got to prove him and you will find the promises true. I'll draw all men unto me. Lift him up by living as a Christian ought. Let the world in you the Savior see. Then men will gladly follow him who once taught, I'll draw all men unto me. Oh, lift him up, Isaiah. Lift him up because he still speaks from eternity. We've got to lift the Savior up and he'll draw all men. But lest I hold you too long, because I know you're checking your watches already. We just in the shadow of noon, but look at verse 17. Here's what it says. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. So let me remind us today that no matter what it is our duty to redeem the time as a servants of Christ. Christ indeed is a redeemer of the times, and if we truly follow him, then we must be redeemers of the times. Verse 17 seems to suggest that we must stay in the will of God. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, you will still need to stay in the will of God. However, you can't do it on your own. You can't do it through your own mental acumen, but you've got to trust in the Lord and stay in his word. 2 Timothy 2:15 says it like this. It's telling us that we must study to show ourselves approved, workmen that needeth not be ashamed. But there's power in the Word of God. If you really want wisdom and you really want to redeem the time, you've got to pray each and every day, stay in His will, stay in His way, and you've got to read and study your Bible. Because I'm glad that He's redeemed the time. I'm glad that He's redeemed it with His love, His peace, His joy, His energy, and His motivation. If we continue to be instruments of Christ, we must look to Him for love. And so you know what, church? Deacon David Holland, we've got to, number one, guard our walk. Number two, reject foolishness, embrace wisdom. Number three, know the risk. And number four, stay in God's will. Because Jesus has led us to the cross. As victory came forth as He bled, suffered, died, and was buried. After 3 days in the tomb with power in His hands, Jesus, oh my Jesus, redeemed us with His own precious blood. Yes, sinners plunged beneath that flood. We come out redeemed because of the peace and the power that is there. Somebody ought to say amen in this church today, just knowing that God has redeemed us through Jesus. So we must continue to do the work of Him that has sent us by taking up the cross and following Him. Sister Jackie, we've got to pray and stay on the course of righteousness, a road that sometimes is less traveled, but we've got to stay on it for the sake of Jesus. No matter what happens in the White House or on Capitol Hill, no matter what happens in City Hall, what happens from the poor house to the rich house, we got to stay in the will of God. Yes. Stay in the will of God, continue the work and the way of Christ, the way that He worked on earth with love and power and a sound mind. So Liberty Hill, I say to you today that Christ has redeemed the time with His own blood. Christ is the world's Redeemer, the lover of the pure, the fount of heavenly wisdom, our trust and hope secure. Sister Harris, He's the armor of His soldiers, the Lord of earth and sky, our health while we are living, our life when we shall die. Brother Mayor, this Christ, the cross ascended to save a world undone, suffered for the sinful, our full redemption won. But then Brother Brian, down in the realms of darkness, He strode in victory. And at the hour appointed, He rose triumphantly. But I wonder if I've got any old Baptists in this church this morning that could tell me where it happened. Because I used to hear the old deacons tell me where redemption happened. One of them got up and said it like this: down at the cross, where my Savior died. Amen. Down where from cleansing from sin I cried. There to my heart the blood was applied, singing glory to His name. I am so wondrously saved from sin. Jesus so sweetly abides within. There at the cross where He took me, oh wait a minute, there it is, singing glory, hallelujah to His name. Oh, precious fountain that saves from sin. I'm so glad I entered in. There Jesus saves me and keeps me clean, singing glory to His name, to His precious name. Come to this fountain, so rich and sweet. Cast out for a soul at the Savior's feet. Come in today and be made complete. Glory to His name, to His precious name. Glory to His name, His precious name. There to my heart was the blood applied, singing glory, hallelujah, to His name.
Hallelujah.
That might go on.